Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 1st of March and I welcome you all at the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So guys, let's start with the video. In today's video, we are going to discuss the entire analysis of Hindu newspaper along with the articles, their background and the way forward. Now, I would like to tell you that if you are joining here for the first time, you can download the explainer notes of this entire session. These notes are available at our Telegram channel. The link for channel is given in description box in YouTube, or you can directly visit the Telegram and can search there by typing Thinking Palette by Sahil. Okay, so chalo, first of all, let's see overview of the entire newspaper so that we can understand at which articles are important. So first article, quarter 3 GDP growth slows to 4.4%, past data upgraded. Now guys, basically what has happened, the quarter 3's GDP growth estimates have been given, okay, and now it has been slowed down to 4.4%, but you are not required to go too much and track that or to note down this particular development, because these quarterly estimates are not very much important for our examinations, are not asked in the examinations as well. Okay, moving on, arrested AAP leaders, no need to go too much in the details. Governor CMs must have a mature dialogue. Now in past few months we have seen this thing that tussle between chief minister and governor's office have increased considerably. A few months back, just last month, we have seen that in Tamil Nadu also, while the governor's address was being delivered, governor just dropped some of the references, and then there was a spat between chief minister and governor in Tamil Nadu. Now this has happened in Punjab, where the differences have emerged. So Supreme Court is saying that they need to behave maturely. Mature dialogue needs to be there. Differences can be there, but that differences should not be blown out of proportions. Okay, so such are the things that are given here. Then further moving on, China sending finance minister to India for G20 meeting, first high profile visit in a year. Now guys, you know this thing already. India is hosting the G20 presidency for year 2023, and more than 200 meetings will be hosted for Raisina dialogue. Now the Raisina dialogue is also being organized under the ORF, where G20 delegates will come in India. Now, if you remember yesterday also, I have told you one development where there is a problem that's coming in G20. It's that in G20 there is Russia, China, and there is US, and other Western countries are also there in G20. And because of the ideological differences, there might not be a joint statement that will be released. Okay, so that is already a problem. However, on positive front, China will send the finance minister to India. This is a very good thing, because from 2020, the China-India confrontations have increased considerably. Galwan Valley clashes happened in 2020. Recently in Tawang, there were the clashes that have happened, and in that particular line, such visits will work as a confidence building mechanism. So this is a good thing. Then further moving on, after that guys, moving on in this particular direction, again in the regional section, draft MPD master plan has been approved. No need to go too much in the detail, that is only for Delhi, so not much relevant. Okay, because guys, then further moving on, the political articles, advertisements, etc. have been given, not important for our examinations. Okay, moving on guys in this particular direction. Fine, further again the political articles, Vishakhapatnam gearing up for global investors meet. Okay, so this global investors meet, fine, will be held on March 3rd and 4th, where Vishakhapatnam will showcase itself as a investment destination. Then further moving on, after that guys, hand pumps platforms in Tankas save women's lives in Barmaid. So many of the women, they commit suicide while jumping in the reservoirs or water tanks, okay, and they are very deep. So to protect that, they are being covered with these protective covers, okay, and a hand pump has also been deployed so that they can take the water out of that. Then opportunities page, nothing important for exam. Coming to editorial page, first article, a thumbs down for adopt a heritage scheme. So Monument Mitra's adopt a heritage scheme is being discussed here. We'll see this particular article. Then guys, religious polarization can be reversed through democratic process. So recently we have seen that there is a death in the Kashmir of Kashmiri Pandits, targeted killings have been carried. So these things needed to be political, the religious polarizations that have been there, it needs to be resolved. Then India's democracy diminished and declining. We'll see this particular article guys. Then the Windsor framework to step in the ties between UK and European Union. Now, guys, we have seen that Brexit has happened few years back, in which the UK left the European Union. Okay, and since Brexit, there are many of the issues that have developed, Northern Ireland Protocol and all these kind of things. Now, one thing I am telling you guys, that you are not required to go and follow step-by-step developments into the post-Brexit agenda. Fine, why for our examinations? Such kind of questions are not that much asked. Questions largely about India's foreign policy, India's extended neighborhood, what are the developments there, okay, or if there is any development in a country which will have impact on India, those things are important. But every other internal matter, for the sake of examination, you are not required to go too much in detail. And how we know that thing? Okay, after analyzing the previous year's papers that are there. Now, moving on in this particular direction, international courts and climate change, will see this particular article. When the RSS meet JIH, nothing much important. Nagaland women socially empowered, absent in politics. Okay, so this chart is giving the estimates. The chart shows the average women, average share of women MLAs in their state legislature. So the comparison have been given. If you want, you can track it. Okay, then further moving on, text and the context page, regulating online sales of drugs in India. We'll see this article. Then RBI's new pilot project on coin vending machines. We'll see this article also. Then India should stick to the middle path in the new world disorder. We'll see this article, a very, very good article. Though this is an archives article. Archives article means that it got published earlier, but still the article stays relevant in the present times. Okay. Then further moving on in this particular direction, Kashmir repandit killer among two gunned down, says police. Now here there is a side, one important article that we have, legislators facing disqualification, can't attend floor test. So with respect to anti-defection law, we'll see this particular article. Then moving on, after that, New Delhi welcomes foreign ministers for G20 meetings. Okay. Now we will see this particular article, guys, and finally the statement, finally the developments that will come, we need to go that. Fine. Then further investigation completed on mid-air collision. Okay, then further moving on in this particular direction, India Australia to sign agreement on mutual recognition of qualifications. We'll take this article. Then ISRO successful in key test for India's third moon mission. We'll see this particular article also with respect to examination. Then proton beam therapy out of reach for many with the cancer. So what is this proton beam therapy? And there was one more article, I think we have missed it between the pages. Okay, fine. Yes, the portal opened for complaints against the decision of social media companies. So this particular article also we are going to see with respect to the examination, this grievance redressal mechanism that has been launched. Then further moving on, we have seen these articles already. China adopts plan to reform party and state institution. Okay, so basically the draft plan has been adopted by the Central Committee of the National People's Congress in China, where they are talking about reforming the state institutions in China in line with their new changed priorities of the new world order. It is a draft plan. Okay. Then after that, Pakistan court issues arrest warrant against Imran Khan, Sri Lanka bans protest. No need to go in these articles. Core sector output rose to a 10-month high in January. So again, guys, I am telling you the same thing. Month by month data about the core sector growth, export performance, foreign exchange, all these things. No need to go too much there. Then Adani said to plan to repay 790 million debt, not important. And after that, we have this sports page. So this is, guys, the overview of entire newspaper. Okay, and now let's start with all these particular important articles one by one in detail. Okay, and these are the synoptic notes that I was telling you about. Okay, you can download it from our Telegram channel. Now let's start with the GS quotation. Now this GS quotation can be used to complement your answers in GS 1, 2, 3 and 4. So today we are going to take the quotation from Abiy Ahmed. So Abiy Ahmed says that democracy is unthinkable without freedom. Freedom is not a gift doled out to people by a government. Freedom is not that what government gives to its people. Rather, freedom is a gift of nature to everyone that emanates from our human dignity. Because we are humans, we possess a dignity which is inalienable. It can never be separated from the human's existence. And because that dignity is entailed in a human, that dignity brings certain freedoms. And these freedoms are not granted by the government, they are granted by the nature. And this freedom is, without the freedom, democracy is not possible. So democracy, freedom goes hand in hand. So this is the idea. You can use this particular idea in GS paper number 2 related answers, and as well as in essay, we can use this particular idea. Now, moving on, and let's discuss the first article for the today. So the first article, guys, that we are going to discuss, we have taken it from text and context section, and the article reads, India should stick to the middle path in the new world order. Okay, now this particular article will see with respect to the GS paper number 2, international relations and India's foreign policy priorities. We'll see this particular article. Now, guys, this article is an old article. It was published in May 2022. Okay, but still the article stays very, very relevant. Okay, it's very, very relevant article, and a very beautifully written article, I'll say. Now, let's discuss with this particular article. So, basically, guys, the article provides this particular thing that the world has faced many transitions since end of World War II. So after the World War II, the first transition that we saw in world politics was a transition towards bipolarity. How bipolarity? On one hand there was US, on another hand there was the USSR, and both the US and USSRs had a contention with each other because of ideological difference, because of the strategic differences, because of the economic contentions that were there in both the countries. So these two poles were there in the world politics, and this was the period of bipolarity. However, we saw this particular thing that bipolarity, okay, so you can say that the period from 1945 onwards, roughly I'm taking the idea, 1945 till 1991 was bipolarity. Then we saw that in 1991 there was the disintegration of USSR happened. So post 1991 it has been said that a kind of unipolarity has emerged. Why? Because US became the only country which was having such big might of power. However, in the past few years, particularly post 2012, it has been said that now rather than unipolarity, we are moving towards multipolarity. There are the multiple poles of power that are there. For example, US is one, then China is emerging as a pole of power, then countries such as Japan, India, they are emerging as middle powers. Particularly India, today being a middle power, has a dream of becoming a superpower. So there is a multipolarity where there is US, which is a big power. Along with that, there are the middle powers that are emerging. Okay, so this is something that has happened. Okay, and so this is, guys, that as we are talking about this, this is a kind of a third transition that is going on, and this third transition has become even more prominent now. What is happening now? It has been said that again a kind of a world order is changing because China has become a direct contender against USA's hegemony, USA's power. Okay, so now we see this particular thing that there is a rapid rise of China that is happening, and it is changing the global order. Okay, now today we know this particular thing that though there is multipolarity that is existing, but still USA stays the most powerful military power. But USA's strategic importance is going down because US has not been able to solve many of the critical disputes into the present times. In USA's strategic role is diminishing. We have many examples to see that particular thing. Example number one, we saw this particular thing that US withdrew from Afghanistan after 20 years without any substantial solutions. What happened? You can say, and it has even become a meme, that USA took 20 years to replace Taliban with the Taliban. Fine. This is nothing concrete came out of that. After that, Ukraine-Russia war started even when the US was there. Then we see this particular thing that the post-Cold War security equilibrium is now getting disturbed. Russia-China nexus has been built. That nexus is becoming strong, but US has not been able to do anything to retain their power status. So USA's strategic importance is on a decline. Okay, this is something that has happened. Now, what is the role of India in this particular entire matrix? What is the role of India? So when we talk about India's foreign policy from the Cold War times, okay, so it was said that during the Cold War times, India was too idealistic. Fine, particularly when Jawaharlal Nehru particularly Nehruvian period, and Jawaharlal Nehru was called as an idealistic in his foreign policy, because we saw this thing that Hindi Chini bhai bhai, absolute faith on the China, were the examples of such idealism. But this is a very simplistic way of reading India's foreign policy. This is an oversimplification of India's foreign policy. Actually, guys, when we talk about India, India did not had that many choices at that point of time. So it was a necessity for India to be idealistic, to accommodate these differences. And actually, we see this particular thing that India has been quite flexible in readapting itself. Okay, we will see this thing as well. Now, when we talk about 1950s and 1960s, in 1950s and 60s, it was very difficult for a country who is becoming newly independent to maintain absolute independence in their foreign policy choices. It was very difficult. But India basically was successful in maintaining their independence in foreign policy. India, what it did, India came out with the non-aligned movement, and it maintained equidistance from both the blocks of US, blocks of USSR. However, around 1970s, there was a change that started to come in the non-aligned movement. We saw this non-aligned movement and in the world politics as well. For example, when we see 1970s, now China, during the Cold War, initially during the Cold War, China was a very faithful partner of Russia, sorry, USSR. But what happened? It started to move away from USSR towards the USA. Why? Because, guys, if you remember, in 1978-79, China came with their open door policy. Open door policy was China's LPG reforms. As India had the LPG reforms in 1991, China came with their LPG reforms in 1978 open door policy. With that, China started to become more open economy, and they started to move towards the USA's camp. This is something that started to happen. During this time, 1970s, India, though following the NAM, but India also started to drift towards USSR. But at the same time, India managed to stay away from the Soviet Union-led military alliances. We never became a part of a military grouping. Okay, now why it is a kind of a change? Because, guys, India has been the propagator of NAM, but we signed the treaty of friendship with the USSR, and all such kind of things happened. Okay, now when we talk about today, fine, when we make out way, India faces a different set of challenges. Okay, now see, first of all, post 2020, after this COVID crisis happened, we today again find that a kind of a cold war is brewing in world politics. How the cold war is brewing? Because you see this particular thing that on one hand, there is US, on another hand there is a China and Russia. Now you see, this Cold War is different than the Cold War of 1950s and 60s. Why? Because during that particular time, no power was hostile to India. Neither USSR was directly hostile to India, nor USA was directly hostile to India. But in the present Cold War, on China and USA, China is number one, our neighbor. Secondly, China is hostile towards India, because we see these disputes on LAC that has emerged. So India is facing a difficult choice. So the Cold War of 1950s-60s was centered in Europe. Today, the Cold War, the power contention is in Asia. And what India can do? India right now is not having much of the choices. Okay, India today would be tempted to join the America only, because China's already, there are the problems. Moreover, if we see the power gap between India and China, power differential between India and China, it is also very much huge. So because of that particular thing, and this divide started to emerge since 1970s. Moreover, today if we see, China also maintains strategic relation with Pakistan. It is maintaining the vibrant relation with South Asian, Indian Ocean countries. So point is that China is trying to circle India. China along with Pakistan can pose a danger to India. So India has only one choice, that is to join USA's camp. That is to join the USA's camp. Now, in this particular capacity, what is the role that Russia is going to play? What is the role that Russia is going to play? Now you see this particular thing that as we talk about Russia, Russia always have been a traditional partner with India. Deep defense ties are there, economic ties are there with the Russia. But right now there is one other problem that's emerging. You see this thing. On one hand we have US, on another hand we have US, on another hand we have Russia and China. Now China is openly are Openly with China, we have contentions. So basically, guys, in order to counter China, what we need to do? We need to go towards the USA. Okay. Now today, USA and the Western countries, they are imposing very heavy sanctions on the Russia because of Russia-Ukraine war that is going on. Because of the Russia-Ukraine war that is going on, USA is imposing a lot of sanctions on Russia. Now, if India is going near to the USA because we want to deter China, then USA will force India that India should support the sanctions that we are imposing on Russia. Now, India can resist this to a particular point, but after a time, India also have to support USA's strategy on Russia. So therefore, what might happen? India have to take a critical position on Russia's actions in the near term. That is going to be a very big issue. That is going to be a very big issue. Now, further moving on, what India should do during this particular time? So basically, guys, India should learn from the China. India should learn from the Chinese lesson. Now, what China did? So basically, we knew this thing that when around 1960s, the power gap, economic gap between India and China was not much. At that point of a time, guys, basically, first of all, it was very convenient for China to be near to their ideological brother, that is Soviet Union, to support the Soviet Union. But China knew that if they will support the Soviet Union always, what will happen? They will become a second fiddle to Soviets. But China always wanted to maintain their independence, autonomy. They didn't want it to be a second fiddle to anyone. Moreover, China knew this thing that if they will join the capitalist camp, economically they will benefit a lot from the US. Okay, they can get technologies from the US, they can get the market from the US, they can become the factory to the US. China knew this particular thing. So what happened? China drifted away from USSR and moved towards the USA. Though it was convenient for them to stay with the USSR. And over the period of time, what happened? What happened? China over the period of time gained enough economic and military power. Okay, and today China has started to challenge the USA. Okay, so China became an economic power by the support of USA, and today it is challenging the USA. Now today when we talk about India, what India needs to focus? India needs to focus first of all towards the transforming itself economically and militarily. So today, first of all, we should focus on our own transformation, economic transformation, military transformation. We also need to emerge ourselves as the stabilizing power in South Asia, Indian Ocean region. Okay, and for that particular thing, India needs to focus on the social cohesion. Internal robustness is need to be focused, and once that thing we can do, we can draw our own cards. Okay, after that particular thing, we can have our own independent foreign policy and can lead with that. Okay, so this is, guys, all about this particular article. Fine. So I hope that you have understood it. It is indeed a very good article and giving a kind of a bird's eye view of the India's priorities into the present times. Okay, so a very good article. I'll rate it as a 5-star article. Now, moving to next article on regulating online sale of drugs in India. On regulating online sales of drugs in India. Now we'll see this particular article, guys, with respect to the GS paper number 3. Okay, sectors of Indian economy. Sectors of Indian economy. Now let's start with the article. So basically, guys, what has happened? The Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Now, first of all, I'll tell you the background first. See, right now, the offline or the brick and mortar drug sellers, okay, pharmacists, they are protesting against the online pharmacies, such as these Tata 1mg, Farm Easy, Apollo Pharmacy. They're protesting against them. They're saying these things that these online pharmacies, they are offering the deep discounts, and because of that they have disrupted the market and the profitability of these offline drug stores have went down. Okay, and because of this particular thing, to a certain extent, because of this particular development, recently the Ministry of Health has also pulled the 20 online pharmaceutical providers, that is the Tata 1mg, Flipkart, Apollo, Pharmeasy, okay, by issuing them a show cause notice for selling the medicine online. Okay, they are asking them that how you are selling the medicines online, why you are selling the medicines online. And according to the article, some of the leaders in the government has even suggested that these online pharmacies should be completely shut down. Now, when we talk about government's approach towards these online pharmacies, it can be suggested, it can be seen that it is a blow hot, blow cold approach. Blow hot, blow cold approach. What it means? It means that sometimes we openly support these pharmacies, sometimes we denounce them. Now, first of all, you see this thing that, guys, when we talk about the COVID-19, particularly the year post 2020, this was the watershed movement for these online drug pharmacies, because during the COVID-19, as restrictions were there, lockdown was going on, and as medicines requirement was so huge, they became the go-to priorities for the households. Okay, and there was a huge growth of e-pharmacies during this particular time. Okay, and Ministry of Home Affairs also issued the orders them to continue to operate. Okay, and 8.8 million households use these home delivery services of the drugs during that time of the lockdown. So we supported them, but now we are saying that they should be shut down or they should be regulated. First of all, guys, as we talk about the regulation of these online drug pharmacies, first of all, in 2018, there were the draft rules that were floated for the regulation of these online drug companies. But after that, nothing concrete happened on that particular thing, and still, up till now, these drug companies are not properly regulated. This is a very big issue that is going on. Okay, now, guys, it has been said that some of the leaders have suggested that we need to completely shut down. That might not be the correct approach, because if we shut them down completely, they will go underground. They will go underground. Okay, and people are still going to order the medicines online because people are finding it very convenient. Moreover, many of the high courts, for example, Bombay, Madras, Delhi, Patna High Court, has also called the government that you come out with some rules for regulating the online pharmacies. What is your stand on online pharmacies? Please clear that particular thing. Even in this particular direction, there is 172nd Parliamentary Standing Committee report also, which was released last year in the June. It has also provided this thing that we have not notified any rules after the 4 years. I told you in 2018 there were the draft rules that were floated, but no final rules have been brought up till now. So this is actually a kind of a gray area in which these online pharmacies are operating. These online pharmacies, guys, see, first of all, they are bringing a lot of consumer convenience, first of all, because they are delivering the drugs at the doorstep. They are offering the deep discounts, convenience, all such kind of things. Initially, these online drug pharmacies, they provided that they will support the brick and mortar based uh, pharmacist, because they will take medicines from them and will provide to the household. For example, Swiggy is not making any food. What Swiggy does, Swiggy provides the connectivity partner to the restaurants. Okay, so in the same ways, they have to work. But some of the pharmacies, they started to stockpile their own inventories, okay, in order to reduce their, in order to increase their margin. Since then, the problems have come. So we need to find a sustainable solution in this particular thing. Okay, so that is all, guys, about it. And now moving to next article. Okay, so this, guys, is the next article. The portal opened for complaints against decisions of the social media platforms. Now, this particular article we are going to see with respect to the GS paper number 3, regulation of social media in India. Okay, so let's take this particular article. We'll see this article with respect to GS3, regulation of social media intermediaries. Okay, now, first of all, let's talk about the basic background, and then we'll go in this particular article. So basically, guys, IT rules 2021 were notified by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. These IT rules 2021 aimed to regulate the three things: social media intermediaries in India. Social media intermediaries are the companies or the platforms such as the Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Fine, these are the social media intermediaries. It aims to regulate them. Second, these IT rules aim to regulate the OTT platform. OTT stands for over the top. Now, OTT platforms such as the Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hotstar, these. And then it came on the regulation of the digital news. Okay, so these were the rules that came. Now it was provided that these entities such as the OTT platforms, for example, they have to appoint a grievance redressal officer. In the same way, social media intermediaries also, they need to have a grievance redressal mechanism in case if there is some fake news, if there is some hate news floating on the Facebook, then the grievance redressal officer needs to be there. In the same way, if the OTT platforms are showing some kind of if these OTT platforms are showing some program which may offend the people, then also they need to have some grievance redressal officer. Okay, and the digital news, they need to follow the code of ethics. These were some norms that came. Okay, now guys, actually the issue has, there is one issue. The issue is this, that under these IT rules, now the people used to file the complaint if they are dissatisfied with some program shown on OTT, or if they are finding some content hateful on social media, they file for complaint. But often the solution that was given, that was very superficial. Not proper solutions were given to them. And in order to control, by becoming frustrated with this particular thing, people got frustrated by that thing, and they didn't had any solution to go. So therefore now government had came out with the grievance appellate committee. So once you have filed a complaint and you are not satisfied with that resolution, you can approach this grievance appellate committee. So people dissatisfied with the resolution of a complaint to social media companies on content takedown request, now they will be heard by this grievance appellate committee. Okay, this is something very good that has come. Now guys, understand that as we talk about the IT rules, in these IT rules very clearly it was provided that these social media intermediaries, OTTs, need to respect the article 14, 19, 21 of the people. Okay, so in order to help that, these grievance appellate committees are going to be very useful. That is all about this article. Now moving to next article. Hand pumps platforms in tankas saving women's lives in Barmer. Okay, so guys, the Barmer region of the Rajasthan is one which doesn't have much of the water availability, and to get the water, people either dug up well or they create the tankas or the water tanks, water reservoirs where the rainwater is collected. But often women, because of the marital disputes, they jump in these water wells along with their children and commit suicide. Basically, this is a big problem. This is one issue because guys, it has been provided that it is nothing less than the murder of a child, because these children who are being taken with their mothers, they have never given consent to that. And in order to deal with this social crisis, the Rajasthan government is taking the initiatives of constructing the covers and all such kind of things. Now basically guys, what I want to show you here, I want to show here is the state empathy. This is the example of the state empathy. What do we mean by empathy? Empathy means, empathy is the value which means that you resonate with the pain of other. Okay, now resonating with the pain of the families of the women who had committed suicide, and resonating with the pain of the children who are being forced to commit suicide, this initiative has been taken. So this is an example of government empathy, state empathy, which is a good thing. So in ethics GS paper number 4, we can use such kind of an examples in one line. Okay, now moving to the next one. RBI's new pilot project on coin vending machines. Okay, now guys, basically this is not a very big development, not a very big article, a very just a basically a two-liner development that has been there. So basically, Reserve Bank of India is launching a pilot project. Pilot project means a project that is started on experimental basis. We deploy a particular initiative on a limited scale, we see whether it was a success or not, and if it is a success, we deploy it on a pan India level. So this is an experimental project that Reserve Bank of India is starting. What they are doing, basically they are coming out with the coin vending machines. Now people require the coins, they require the change for their day-to-day needs, but often the coins are basically, when we find, they are very heavy. Okay, coins are often, so supply is there, but often it's very difficult to find them. So these are the coin vending machines where you can get the number of coins, and the payment can be made using the UPI. Earlier also there were the coin vending machines, but those coin vending machines worked on the other way. For example, you give hard cash banknotes, and in return of the banknotes you will get the coin. There was a very big problem. Often the fake notes were fed on those machines. Then taking back those cash notes was also a big logistical challenge. So now by UPI the payment will be made and the coins will be disbursed. So this is the idea to ease the accessibility of coins. So this is something that has come here. Beyond that, guys, you are not required to go too much in detail in this particular article. Now, moving to the next article. A thumbs down for the Adopt a Heritage scheme. A thumbs down for the Adopt a Heritage scheme. Now, this particular article we'll see with respect to the GS paper number 2 as well as GS paper number 3. Okay, but sorry, not GS paper number 2. We'll see it with respect to the GS paper number 1, Art and Culture, Conservation of Heritage. Conservation of Heritage. Conservation of heritage, heritage monuments in India. Now, let's talk about this article. So basically, the article talks about Adopt a Heritage scheme that was launched in 2017. Adopt a Heritage scheme that was launched in 2017. And this particular scheme, a minute. Adopt a Heritage scheme. Now, this particular scheme is the brainchild of number 1, Ministry of Tourism, secondly, Ministry of Culture, and thirdly, the Archaeological Survey of India. Now, under this Adopt a Heritage scheme, corporate entities, fine, public sector companies, corporate entities, even the individuals, they can adopt a monument, they can adopt a heritage site, and then they will be responsible for maintaining it. They will be responsible for its upkeep, for its redevelopment and all such kind of things. Here, the entities can adopt a monument site, heritage site for a period of 5 years. For example, the Reliance, they can opt, for example, they can adopt the Qutub Minar, fine, that for 5 years we will maintain it. This is the Adopt a Heritage scheme. And the people or the corporates or the PSUs who are adopting the monuments, they will be called as the Monument Mitra. Monument Mitra, it is a term coined for an entity who is partnering with the government under the Adopt a Heritage program. And guys, under this Adopt a Heritage program, for upkeeping that site, for development of that site, for maintaining facilities at that site, all the expenditure that is being done, it can be carried out of their corporate social responsibility liability. Now, what is this corporate social responsibility? So basically, guys, the section 135 of the Companies Act 2013 provides that after a particular threshold, the companies need to pay 2% of their profit as a CSR. The money which is coming in CSR, it is to be invested for the giving back to society. That money can be used in educating the people, for eradication of certain disease or such developmental priorities. So out of the CSR, the money can be invested on the on this Adopt a Heritage monuments as well. Now, further moving on, the article is talking about that there are many problems in this Adopt a Heritage program. What are these problems? Problem number 1 is that we often the corporates which are adopting a heritage site, they might not have expertise in dealing with that particular site's maintenance. For example, it has been said that we saw in Morbi, Gujarat, that there was a bridge collapse, and we find this particular thing that a watch company, okay, was given the contract of maintaining this particular bridge. Now, this watch company didn't had any expertise in bridge engineering, but they were given the contract. Okay, in this particular same way, it is being said that today there are many of the businesses, they will adopt the heritage site, but they will not have much information, much knowledge about that. So how they are going to maintain such monuments or museums, etc.? It is going to be a very big problem. Second thing, that many monuments such as the Stoop at Sanchi, Vriddeshwara temple at Thanjavur, Akbar's palace city at Fatehpur Sikri, they have also been given to these corporates. But the point is that there are already tourist infrastructure, proper toilets, all the facilities are already there. Fine, what more you need to develop there? What these other corporates will add on here? Okay? Then there is another issue that comes here is that basically under this Adopt a Heritage scheme, it will undermine the local communities and their relations with the historical sites. Now see this thing here. For example, let's say Reliance is adopting a heritage site. It will bring trained professional tours, guides, all these kind of things. Point is that the local people's livelihood will get impacted by that. Okay, so they will employ the large businesses. Okay, they will adopt a monument. Okay, the livelihood of the local peoples will get impacted there. Then even there is an idea that not only the day tourism, but they can also carry the night tourism. They can also carry the night tourism. Now, if the night tourism can be carried by these corporates who are maintaining this particular monument, first of all, it will lead to a problem that it will lead to excessive wear and tear of these monuments. More people will visit, wear and tear will happen. Second problem is that for night, there is electricity that is needed, and that electricity will be taken from rural homesteads, nearby hospitals. Already electricity shortage comes during the summer months. That is a very big problem. So what can be done? So rather than giving an entire monument to a corporate, we need to focus on some sustainable alternative way. For example, the businesses and corporates, what they can do, they can help citizens to understand that why monuments matter, what is the importance of maintaining our heritage, how it has economic importance, social importance, cultural importance, and let the community take their own initiative. This is something that has to be done. CSR funds can be used for researching, writing, educating people, publishing high quality textbooks, okay, developing the imaginative ways of teaching history. This is something that these corporates should be focusing on rather than adopting an entire monument. This is something. Traders and shopkeepers, what they can do, they can give funds to school libraries for collecting the archival material, books, etc. This is something. CSR funds can be used also to give new equipment, okay, that releases fewer noxious gases. That now see this thing. For example, the Taj Mahal, which is the Taj Mahal, which is made up of iconic white Makrana marbles. It is corroding. It is getting blackened because of the exhaust, because of the smoke which is being released by the domestic as well as industrial units into the nearby regions. So here basically they can give them equipment by which these harmful gases don't get released, which darken these monuments. Such is the usage of the CSR that can be done. Now here we see the example of Tata Sons, ONGCs, which have regularly contributed funds to organizations trained in much needed restoration skills. Fine. And by giving them skills, they are getting the job. So these are certain initiatives that are needed to be that are needed to be started. Okay, this is something, guys, that is to be done. Okay, now today we see that environment is also impacting these monuments. For example, high rainfall is leading Ladakh's stucco houses to crumble. Okay, the temperature differentials is peeling away the Shekhawati's murals. So what private sector can do? Private sector can help is in restoring them. Okay, and all such things can be done. So that is all, guys, about this particular article. I hope that you have understood it. And now we'll move to next article. Okay, guys, please let me know if you have any doubt, if there is any confusion, anything you want to ask. Please, guys, you can tell me. Now moving to the next article, sorry. Okay. International courts and climate change. International courts and climate change. Fine. Now this particular article will see with respect to GS paper number 3, environment. Environment, impact of climate change, etc. Okay. Now moving on. Okay. So guys, here, first of all, if you focus on this particular map, here we see Pacific Ocean. Fine. Here we have Australia. And in the Pacific Ocean, we have certain island nations. For example, we have Nauru, we have Tuvalu, we have Kiribati, okay, we have Fiji here, and here you can see we have Vanuatu. Fine, Vanuatu. Now Vanuatu. Vanuatu, it is an island, small island nation, which have been very much active in climate diplomacy. Now this particular island also has been very important one, which have talked about the harms that the islands will face because of the sea level that will rise. Now what has happened? The small island developing states such as these countries, including the Vanuatu, Okay, particularly the Vanuatu, they are the most vulnerable to the rising temperature, because when temperature will increase, glacial ice will melt, and when glacial ice will melt, the sea level will rise, and when sea level will rise, these islands will get submerged completely. So recently what has happened, Vanuatu, okay, Vanuatu has launched an initiative, and the Vanuatu, through the United Nations General Assembly, it is seeking an advisory opinion from ICJ, that is the International Court of Justice. It is seeking an advisory opinion from the ICJ to clarify the legal obligations of the countries to prevent and redress the effects of climate change. So you see this particular thing, particularly the Western world, they have emitted a lot more carbon emissions, and because the Western world has released a lot more carbon emission, today temperature is rising, sea level will rise, and these countries will get impacted. So whether those countries have any legal obligation, those countries can be held liable to pay for damages to these countries, yes, no, or what is the status? So they are asking that particular status from the ICJ, International Court of Justice. And this particular idea of the Vantau has been supported by more than 100 countries, more than 100 countries. Now let's talk about little bit about the International Court of Justice and the powers or the jurisdictions that it is having. So when we talk about, guys, the International Court of Justice, it has two types of jurisdictions. One is a contentious jurisdiction and other is advisory jurisdiction. Contentious jurisdiction means the power of the International Court of Justice to resolve legal disputes between the consenting states. Okay, for example, there is a, let's say, a legal dispute between two countries, let's say Pakistan and Afghanistan, and they reach to ICJ to resolve that particular dispute. So it can give judgment in that, and that is called as a contentious jurisdiction, to resolve legal disputes between consenting states. And then there is also one more type, that is the advisory jurisdiction. Advisory jurisdiction. Now under advisory jurisdiction, United Nations General Assembly, Security Council, or any other body, fine, or any other country, they can ask their opinion on a legal matter. Now what has happened when we talk about the Vantau? Vantau has asked an advisory opinion. Vantau has asked an advisory opinion that, okay, you tell what is going to be the implication here. Now when we talk about the advisory, when we talk about the advisory opinions, these advisory opinions are non-binding. Okay, they are non-binding on the countries, but yet they have a kind of a symbolic weight. Okay, they have a symbolic weight. Okay, countries should follow them. Now further moving on. Okay, now the draft resolution which has been piloted by Vantau, what Vantau is asking, they're asking question number one. Question number one, what are the international law obligations of countries towards the protection of climate systems? What is the responsibility of US? What is the responsibility of UK? Okay, towards the climate systems, how, to what an extent anthropogenic emissions, fine, are responsible, fine. The ICG can use here the no harm principle. No harm principle. It means that the states, whatever they are doing in their own jurisdiction, should not have harm on some other country. For example, whatever India is doing in their own territory, that should not harm the other countries. Fine, this is something that is to be taken up. So ICG can use the no harm principle. Okay, and now Vantau is asking that what are the legal obligations that are there. Secondly, it is Vantau is asking what are the legal consequences for states that have caused a significant harm to the climate system. Big emitters, for example, China is emitting so much of carbon, USA, UK has emitted a lot of carbon, and today because of their carbon emissions, the countries such as island nations, they are getting impacted. So what are the legal consequences for the states that have caused this significant harm to the climate system? Okay, then next they are saying, next they are asking that how the small island nations, fine, they can be given protection, they can be compensated out of that. All these things are there. Now already, guys, in this particular direction, there is some work that has been done in COP27 that was held in Egypt last year. What has happened in COP27 in Egypt? There was the discussion to establish a loss and damage fund. Loss and damage fund. Now this loss and damage fund will be created, and the money will go to the countries, which are facing the damage of climate change. But there is a problem that this loss and damage fund, though we have talked we will develop it, but there is a very little clarity that who will provide the funding in this loss and damage fund, which countries will receive that particular funding, on what basis that funding will be given. So these are very big issues that are there. Okay. Now, when we talk about the advisory opinion that is being asked by the Ventau, they are not a panacea. They are not a panacea. Okay, they might not be acceptable to the countries. They might also be used as a double-edged sword, deepening on the kind of verdict that is delivered. For example, let's say the ICJ says that the China is responsible, US is responsible, and they should contribute this money. What is the guarantee that they will agree with that? Okay, so it is not a panacea. Now the responsibility comes that the developed countries, G20, they should support these initiatives by the small island developing states such as the Vantau. They should support it, okay, and through the presidency that India is leading right now in the G20, okay, India should take a lead, okay. Even we have started the life movement, okay. Such kind of initiatives can be taken because they will be then sustainable, okay. That is all guys about it. I hope that you have understood it, and now we are going to move to the next article. Okay, India's democracy diminished and declining. Okay, now guys, this particular article is written by Mr. Ashwini Kumar, former Union Minister for Law and Justice, and the article is largely talking about this thing that there is a democratic decline that is going on in the country. We can see this by the way the parliament is working, the way the parliamentarians are treating each other. Okay, so now article guys doesn't contains much of that academically relevant substance for our UPSC examination. However, for your personal interest, for your personal leisure, you can read that particular article also if you want. I am going to give you some important excerpts or some gist, okay, the essence of this particular article. But fine, academically important issues actually are not there. Those article is saying this particular thing, that there are the constitutional wrongdoings that are going on right now, and it is showing the quality of democratic engagement. So recently there was a speech of the MPs that got expunged. Okay, fine. So the speeches of the MPs got expunged. Fine, that is something that has happened. Okay, expunging means that some of the references by us, fine, one of an MP, I will deliberately not use the name. One of an MP made a speech in the parliament where certain references about the Adanis, the prime minister were given, and those words got muted. This is something, it has been said that these things should not happen in the parliament. Then disruption of the prime minister's speech in the Rajya Sabha, penalty of suspension. Some of the opposition MPs were suspended from the parliamentary proceedings last year. Okay, recently a Dalit student had committed a suicide in one of a premier educational institution because of the unbearable distress, caste discrimination that was being faced by that student. Okay, and so guys, these things shows that democracy, fine, is this is a kind of a decline. The article is saying this thing. So article is saying this thing. It has been said that democracy is about accommodation. Okay, but that accommodation is not there. It is not about hurting sensitivities, but respecting. Okay, so the celebration of the republic cannot be complete as long as our politics remains limited by the narrow partisan shallow viewpoints that we have. So this is all about this particular article that it is talking about. Fine. So guys, I hope that you have understood it. Beyond that, you are not required to go too much in detail. Fine. So I hope that you are understanding the importance of the respective articles. Now, the next article. Legislators facing disqualification can't attend floor test, Supreme Court. We'll see this particular article with respect to the GS paper number 2, polity, issues related to anti-defection law. GS2, polity, issues related to anti-defection law. Now, what the article is talking about. First of all, let me tell you about the anti-defection law a little bit, and then we'll go in this article. So basically, anti-defection law, okay, it is provided in the 10th schedule of the Indian Constitution. Now, the 10th schedule was added in the Indian Constitution by 52nd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1985. Now, the 10th schedule or the anti-defection law, it provides this particular thing that if a member of the parliament or the legislative assembly had carried a defection, then they can be disqualified from that house. What is a defection? Defection means, okay, defection means voluntarily giving up the membership of a political party after getting elected. you fought the election on the ticket of ABC political party, you won the election, and then you joined the XYZ political party. So giving up the membership of the political party, voting or abstaining from voting contrary to the party's direction. For example, you belong to the ruling party and there is a no confidence motion that was moved. So to prove the confidence, the voting was to be done. Okay, and you did not went in line with what your party's whip has said to you. So voting against the party lines or abstaining to vote when the party has asked you to vote on important matters, in that matter the disqualification can be there. Okay, all these things, fine, this will call for disqualification. So if a member has joined, so this is a disqualification. And now when we talk about the power to decide on disqualification, who have the power to decide on disqualification? Presiding officer of that particular house. For example, in the case of Lok Sabha, speaker will take that particular decision. And when we talk about the decision of the presiding officers, it can be challenged in the court of law. Judicial review can be taken on that. Now, in many of the states, guys, what has happened in many of the states, particularly here in the state of Maharashtra, we see this thing. Suppose ABC political party is a ruling party. ABC party is a ruling party. Okay, let's say, let's say there is a state X. There's a state X. In that state X, there are the 200 seats in the legislative assembly. Now, if any political party want to establish a government there, they need to have at least 101 seats. Let's say in this X state, there are the ABC political party and there are PQR political party. ABC political party, let's say, had 110 seats and PQR political party, let's say, got 90 seats. Okay, so obviously who will make the government here? The ABC political party will make the government. Now guys, what happened, let's say 20 of the MLAs defected from this party and joined the PQR party. So what will happen? The PQR party will get 110 seats. Now they are in the majority, they will form the government. Okay, now guys, what is happening? The MLAs, for example, they are defecting and they are joining the other political party. Now, because they have defected, ideally they should get disqualified. But there is one more issue that is coming here. Now the MLAs, they defect from one party to other party, and these MLAs then ask the governor to carry a floor test to ascertain that whether this party is having a majority or not. And in the floor test, they are also voting. So now obviously they will vote from this side. And as they will vote from this side, this new political party will make the government now. Can the members who have defected, they can vote in the floor test or not? Fine, this is a question that was there in the front of the Supreme Court. And here Supreme Court has said that allowing an MP or an MLA who is facing disqualification under the anti-defection law, who have defected, and allowing them to participate on the floor test, fine, it will lead to the defeat of the purpose of 10th schedule. It will make the 10th schedule meaningless. Okay, so it has been said that such people, such MPs or MLAs who have defected, they cannot vote into the floor test. It has been said that allowing them will mean legitimizing a constitutional sin. Sin means a paap. Okay, sin. It will mean delegitimization of the constitutional sin. Okay, so that is something. So it will mean legitimizing a constitutional sin. So it means that they cannot vote. So this is the ruling that has given by Supreme Court here in this particular direction. Okay, I hope guys that you have understood it. Now moving to the next article. Okay, guys, please tell if you have any doubt. Is it clear or not? Sir, how you are determined on daily routine? Someday we are not able to perform. जब भी मैं आपको देखता हूँ, I really feel क्या बोर नहीं होते. Thank you so much, Aurangzeb, for your such lovely comment. कि हो तो Holohan case, judicial interpretation of anti-defection law. Yes, dear, correct. Sir, disqualification mentioned in RP 1951 and 10th schedule. What is the difference between two? Dear, in 10th schedule, disqualification for defection is mentioned. In 10th schedule, disqualification for defection is only mentioned. And in RP 1951, disqualification for other reasons is mentioned. For example, if a MP has been convicted in some crime, and he got a punishment, okay, then also he can get disqualified. If he got minimum punishment of 2 years or more, then also he can disqualify. Now that disqualification is written in RPA 1951. So RPA 1951 talks about disqualification, 10th schedule talks about disqualification, but 10th schedule largely talks only about the disqualification in matters of defection. Now moving to the next article. ISRO successful in key test for India's third moon mission. Okay, now the article, guys, first of all, we think that every article where some ISRO or some word is mentioned is very important. Yes, they are important, but every article will be asked in exam, not necessary. Now this article is just talking about the trial, the hot test. Hot test means a test where the engines or the equipments are tested, okay, by running them on. Fine. Now this article, what it is talking about, it is talking about the hot test or the test of the cryogenic engine that has been carried. Now we are going to undertake the Chandrayaan 3 mission by the end of this particular year. So Chandrayaan 3, it is going to be the India's third moon mission. Okay. And in this moon mission, India is going to demonstrate the end-to-end capability in safe landing, roving on the lunar surface. Okay. Now this Chandrayaan 3 is going to be launched, and this Chandrayaan 3 will be launched by the launch vehicle Mark 3. LMV 3 launch vehicle Mark 3 will be used for the Chandrayaan 3. Now guys, this LMV 3 will be powered by the cryogenic engine. Now this cryogenic engine has been successfully tested. This is what all this article is talking about. Now what do we understand by the cryogenic engine? So basically guys, the cryogenic engine is a very high-tech sophisticated engine for the rocket. It is a type of rocket engine which uses the cryogenic fuel and cryogenic oxidizer. Cryogenic fuel is that fuel which is stored at really low temperatures, and in that low temperature it turns in the liquid. So when we talk about cryogenic fuel, it refers to a fuel that is in a liquid state at extremely low temperatures, typically below 150 degrees Celsius. So basically liquid hydrogen, it stays in liquid form at around 150 degrees Celsius. So liquid hydrogen and liquid methane can be used, but commonly liquid hydrogen is used, and oxidizer is liquid oxygen. Okay, so these are the cryogenic engines. So a cryogenic engine has successfully been tested. That is all about this particular article, nothing more than that. Now moving to next article. Proton beam therapy out of reach for many with cancer. Now this particular article, guys, just we will see it with respect to the prelims examination. However, this article is more talking about the Apollo hospitals, where this machine, that is the proton beam therapy machine, is there to treat the cancer. This is only one machine that is there in entire India. We need to have more such machines. So proton beam therapy, let's discuss about that. So basically guys, the cancer happens to be a very critical and often and sometimes it also happens to be a terminal disease. Certain types of cancer, if they progress to a particular state, then often or sometimes there is a no cure even in that case. So cancer happens to be a very deadly disease. What is cancer? Cancer is, guys, the uncontrolled growth of a particular type of cells. Now today when we talk about the cancer, there is a treatment of cancer which is using the radiation. Okay, radiations. Now in the radiation, x-rays are used, but guys, when radiation is used to treat the cancer, what happens, it also have a negative impact on the nearby other organs as well. Particularly when we see the young women, okay, when they have the ovarian cancer or such kind of a thing. So while treating the ovarian cancer by the radiation, it will have the negative impact on the ovaries, reproductive functions and all such things. So radiation have an impact on the complete body. So therefore, radiation often has very big side effects. Now, in place of the radiation, PBT, okay, proton beam therapy is a new methodology that has come. Now, what is this proton beam therapy? So in this proton beam therapy, okay, a proton beam will be flashed only on the place where the cancerous growth is happening, and by that particular thing, it can more efficiently treat the certain types of cancers. Now the point is that we have brought this proton beam therapy machine is there in the Apollo hospitals. A minute. This proton beam therapy, okay, it is available at the Chennai based, at the Chennai based Proton Cancer Center. Fine. But we need to have more such facilities in India. Fine, there was a plan to deploy such facility in the AIIMS Jhajjar, but now that particular plan has been shelved. Now it has been said that because we are not having enough number of proton beam therapy machines in India, people have to go to US, and US the treatment is 1.2 to 1.5 crore. But in India, this treatment can be availed at 5 lakh to 30 lakh rupees. But enough number of machines need to be there. In USA, in US, each unit of proton beam therapy serves a population of 7.9 million. But in India, one unit is treating 1412 million. So 7.9 million versus 1412 million. We need to have more of them. Okay, that is all guys about it. I hope that you have understood this article, and now moving to the next article. India, Australia to sign agreement on mutual recognition of disqualification. Sorry, so anti-defection law, disqualification. Okay, no. India, Australia to sign agreement on mutual recognition of qualifications. Now guys, universities in India are awarding many degrees, many qualifications. For example, qualifications for dental course, qualification for the legal course, qualification on some other disciplines. Now often what is the case, the degrees that are offered by Indian universities, they are not recognized by some other countries, and likewise the degree availed by some other university in some foreign country will not be recognized by the Indian university. Now in this particular line, what has happened, India and Australia, they are deciding that they are going to sign the mechanism for the mutual recognition of qualifications. Mutual recognition of qualifications. So qualifications given in Australia, and qualifications given in India, mutually they will be recognized, and this will be a very broad agreement which will recognize the depth of India-Australia relations. Moreover, guys, now India and Australia. Okay, so now see this thing. The Australian Education Minister actually has arrived in India, and because of that thing, all these things are going on. Okay. Now, Australia has also appreciated India's national education policy, where we have specifically provided that 50% enrollment by 2035 will be provided in higher educational institutions. Okay, and then finally there is one more development that is coming, that is the Australia's Deccan University. Now if you remember, and if you are following the newspaper analysis regularly, few days back we have seen this particular development, that now UGC have allowed foreign universities to open their campuses in India. And in this particular direction, the Australia's Deccan University will open a foreign campus in Gujarat, Gift City. In Gujarat Gift City, the Deccan University of Australia will open a campus. This will be the first campus by the Deccan University of Australia in India. This is something that has happened. So these guys are all the development in this particular direction. Okay, for GS paper number 2, India-Australia relations, you can just mention these things as a point. Now taking the mains practice question for today. Okay, taking the mains practice question for today. So mains practice question, it reads that Monument Mitra aims to ensure quality and inclusive provision of amenities and facilities across heritage sites through the active participation of private and public sector organization and individuals. Critically analyze. So this will be a GS paper number 1 10 marker question. Okay, so guys, you can write this answer and you can submit your answers on our peer reviewed platform. Where you will find that peer reviewed platform, you can visit our main channel, that is Thinking Valid by Sahil. In that channel you will find the first pinned comment. In that pinned comment you will be having a link to the peer reviewed platform where you can upload these answers. So that is all guys about the today's session. Guys, it takes a lot of hard work to prepare notes and to take this session. So guys, if you have liked the video, I will ask you only one thing, that please do like the video, please do share this video with your friends so that it can help our channel to grow, and please leave your lovely comments as you do every time. So it helps us to maintain that level of motivation, fine, and it helps us to continue this. Thank you so much guys. Now we'll meet tomorrow. Till then, please take care of yourselves. Thank you so much, and if there's any doubt, I will take that out. Suppose if 99 get by one party and 101 get one party, because of one constituency, the entire population of gets trample, isn't opposite to people's will. See, this is a criticism. This is a criticism that the majority party takes it all, and that is the first past the post. Basically, that is something that is the case. Fine. Okay, guys. So thank you so much